So I'm going to hand over now to the LF team. Thanks for coming, guys. They're going to tell us all about CLAs and easy CLA.
Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's having a good day, evening, or afternoon. My name is Michal Lehotsky. I'm a director of engineering at the Linux Foundation. I'm leading EasyCLA for last a year or so. And we have also David on the call. David used to lead EasyCLA before for longer than that. He's better expert than me. So with that, I will pass it to him for the introduction.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here.
Hello, David. Thank you for joining. We have also Harold on the call. He is our EasyCLA developer. He also been working on EasyCLA for several years as well.
Thank you.
All right, with that, let's move on. So what is the CLA? I was looking for some easy definition for EasyCLA, and this is the easiest I found. CLA defines the terms under which a content, such as source code in our case, or documentation, is contributed to the project. So it defines some kind of contract between a project and a contributor. And the contributor can be an individual contributor, or can be an organization or group of contributors who represent the organization. So this is one definition. I found another, a little longer. So CLA is the legal document that grants the open source project permission to use, modify, distribute contributors' work, while protecting both the contributor and the project as well. And again, contributor can be organization or people who are representing the organization and individual contributors. So we have an individual contributor, for example, and it can be someone who simply maybe just decided to contribute to open source project because the open source projects are cool. Or maybe he's working on something where he's using this open source, and he wants to just make it better. Or he just simply maybe working on something else with friends and they like. So there can be a different motivation for the individual contributor. And he contributes to open source project. So here is the contribution he's sending. And similarly, the organizations tend to pay their employees to contribute to open source project also from different reasons. Maybe they're using this open source project. Maybe they want to make it better. Or maybe that open source project was originally theirs. They just donated to the foundation to take care of this open source project, and they will continue contributing. Again, there is different reasons for this organization to contribute to open source project. Now, as I mentioned, these contributors can just come and contribute to the open source project, but how do we know that code they contribute is their code? What if they copy from somewhere else? What if they contribute to the project and later will come, oh, that's my work, I want it back. Or there can be different reasons why we want some kind of agreement between the open source projects and the contributor saying, these are the conditions under which you can contribute to open source project. And same thing from the open source project itself. Yeah, if I got a contribution, here are the conditions under which I will get these contributions. And that's why we have a CLA, which usually CLA represent the individual contributor. Then we have a corporate CLA, which is usually different than the CLA because it defines a little slightly different condition for the organizations to contribute. Usually the reason is organization or contributors, they sign the CLA individually. So every single contributor signs the CLA individually. Versus organization, there is some CLA signatory. And that's someone who is representing the company or organization and is eligible or is able from the legal perspective to sign this corporate CLA on behalf of the organization. So they simply go sign it once, and all contributors which belong, or corporate contributors which belong to this organization, can just simply go ahead and start contributing without signing their individual CLAs, where there can be a different condition. Sometimes we can set a condition, even if it's a corporate contributor, you still need to sign the individual CLA, but that's usually the configuration we can configure. I will talk about it later. But in general, it's the one CLA signatory which goes and sign this corporate CLA on behalf of the organization. And then from that, these organizations and contributors can contribute. Are there any questions about the concept of the CLA? Okay, with that, let's move forward. So what is the EasyCLA? EasyCLA, it's the tool which is helping us to manage these different CLAs. And it streamlines both these individual contributors and also these corporate contributors or the organization. It's simply helping this flow I described here and help us to manage these CLA signatories I mentioned who is signing for the organization, these different contributors, in helping us to grant the permission to corporate organization to contribute, or maybe take it away if those people leaving the organization. It's helping us manage it from the open source perspective. And there is somebody, usually it's open source, it's a project manager who is managing this open source, and he needs to put this CLA in place. So when somebody wants to contribute, there is something to sign. So really, EasyCLA is helping us to manage all these different flows. And this EasyCLA is open source itself, and it's a product from the Linux Foundation. So now, let's say, why EasyCLA? Because there is a different CLA management tools. So why EasyCLA? It's helping us to manage CLA better. So first of all, it streamlines the workflow. It simplifies that contribution process I described. It describes for the maintainers, for the individual contributors, for the organization to contribute, to manage their employees who are contributing, to managing, like I mentioned, the project manager who is putting this EasyCLA in place. It streamlines the flow. It's also automate this process. As I will do a short demos, you will see how this process is automated and how this EasyCLA can be put in place automatically. And then, as I mentioned, it's open source. EasyCLA is open source itself, and it's replaced the manual process. It reduces the delay, because really, if I'm an individual contributor and I want to contribute to the open source project, I can sign EasyCLA literally in seconds. And I will show you that. So it's reducing delay of a different signing process which needs to go through. It's like I said, even individual contributor, I can sign EasyCLA in seconds. If it's a corporate, it's slightly different, because this corporate needs to be approved by that somebody who is managing these corporate contributors. However, we have an option even for these corporate contributors, when somebody who is the CLA manager, or in other words, who is managing these contributors for the organization, they can go ahead there and configure, you know what, everybody who's got certain email domain, let's say it's finos.org, everybody who's got this email domain configured for their GitHub account, they can go ahead and start contributing pretty much very quickly, within a second. Just acknowledge, just after these users, corporate contributors acknowledge, they can also contribute in a second if we decide to configure correct CLA that way. Or maybe we can say, okay, maybe it's not the email domain who is these contributors having, which will automatically authorize them. Maybe it's the membership of these GitHub users to some certain GitHub organization. So we can mention, oh, this is a GitHub organization. If anyone from this GitHub organization will come, they will pretty much go ahead and be able to contribute pretty much very quickly, in a few seconds after they just acknowledge, oh, I belong to this organization and I have these conditions, like an email domain or membership to the GitHub organization. And of course, it's make everything this flow more efficient. So now I already mentioned this, which CLAs are supported by EasyCLA. So what we do have, we have pretty much two kinds of CLA. We call it ICLA. That's that individual contributors, and they're signing it pretty much on their behalf. And then we have a CCLA, which is a corporate CLA. Sorry. Then we have a CCLA, which is a corporate CLA. And again, this is on the behalf of the organization. And like I said, it should be signed by somebody who has the authority to pretty much to enter this legal contract on behalf of the company and pretty much represent these contributors. And once the company signs the CLA manager, CCLA, corporate CLA, there is somebody who is called CLA manager. And the CLA manager will manage these contributors for this organization and will manage different conditions. I will show you through, including other CLA managers and including the corporate contributors for the organization. So now, how it really works. So I show you the flow, but how it really looks like in the real life. So from projects that require CLAs, EasyCLA ensure these contributions are not able to merge until they have signed CLA. So let's say we have a contributor and we have an organization, and we want to make a contribution to the open source projects. Okay, so now, is the CLA signed? So we cannot contribute until the CLA is signed if project manager will configure the CLA for the project to be able to contribute. Now there are two simple scenarios. Yeah, if CLA is not signed, yeah, we need to go ahead and sign CLA. And there is a different flow for a corporate CLA as I described, or individual. We'll show you that in the moment. So yeah, if the CLA is not signed, we need to go ahead and sign. And now, if it's an individual contributor, it will sign the individual CLA. If it's a corporate contributor, it will pretty much be part of the corporate CLA. Go ahead, acknowledge that it's part of the organization. And of course, if the CLA is signed, that contribution, let's say it's a pull request from the GitHub, will just simply go through. So with that, I want to just quickly show you how that look like. Let me stop sharing and share entire screen for a sec. So for that, let's say I'm a contributor and I want to contribute to the open source project. So I come here, let's say this is open source project here. And let's say I want to modify the README. So I will come here and let's say that, yeah, this README is short. I want to do some up. I will go ahead and commit the changes and I will create a new branch. New branch. And then I will merge this branch into main. And now by merging this pull request into main, I'm making a contribution. And this contribution is now verified by EasyCLA. So EasyCLA runs and check, oh, somebody is trying to make a contribution. It's me in this case.
Can you just make the font size a bit larger?
Oh, sure, of course. Is it a little better? Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
So I'm trying to make a contribution, which is a pull request in this case, and EasyCLA runs automatically. Why it runs automatically? Because project manager configure the CLA for this project. And now any contribution which comes in, the EasyCLA runs. And this is EasyCLA, it's just a GitHub app. I don't want to go into details into the detailed configuration of the EasyCLA, but EasyCLA, it's a GitHub app which you configure as a mandatory check when the contribution, in this case PR, is merged. And now it shows, okay, so somebody with this username is trying to contribute, but is not covered by the EasyCLA. And this will not be merged, of course, because this check EasyCLA failed. So let's say now I'm the contributor. Okay, so EasyCLA failed. So now we will go ahead and see if we can sign the EasyCLA and just click on this not covered red square, and that will forward the contributor to the EasyCLA. And now, as I mentioned, okay, so now I'm trying to contribute to that open source project. Now, am I a corporate contributor? Am I the individual? And there are different flows. I don't want to go to every single flow for a corporate contributor because it can vary. Corporate contributors, sometimes they may require signing the individual CLA, even it's part of the organization. Or this contributor can be automatically enable or be able to contribute if domain of this contributor is in the approved list, as I mentioned. Or they can automatically contribute because they're part of the different organization, GitHub organization, all that I mentioned. So there is different flow for CLA. But what is common for all of them is if I select I'm a corporate contributor, what is common, I have to tell to which organization I belong to. So let's say I'm belong to, let's say, this organization here. This check mark means that already has this organization. By the way, I'm doing all this testing in dev environment, so you may see maybe some inconsistency or organization which don't exist. So I'm doing this in dev just to let you know. So I pick this organization because this is the organization I belong to, and I want to go ahead and contribute. So I click on proceed. And like I said, it's different setting. Really depends how differently these corporate CLAs are configured. But in this case, the way this is configured, I will let a CLA managers know of my organization. And the CLA manager is someone who is managing all the contributors for the organization. So now you can see these three CLA managers here. Again, it's a test data. And I want them to get notified, oh, I want to be authorized. So I click on the request notification, which will pretty much notify them, oh, there is someone, Michael, and he's trying to contribute to this open source project. Do you want to allow him or add him to the allow list or to the list where which will pretty much let me to contribute? It really is up to them. Or like I said, maybe if I already have some domain, I can contribute automatically, or just after acknowledging I belong to the organization. Or even if I'm a corporate, I might have to sign the individual CLA. It really depends on top of the CCLA. So it really depends on the configuration. In this case, it's configured, like I mentioned, is these CLA managers who is managing this. Pretty much I'm asking them, hey, can you add me to the allow list so I can go ahead and contribute? So that's that corporate CLA flow. I don't want to approve with it because I want to show you how the individual flow. Now, let's say I'm not part of the organization. I'm an individual contributor. Somebody maybe who likes this project. This project is cool. Let's click on the individual contributors. And now what the flow is different. As you can see, now the EasyCLA is generating the document for me. This document, it's pretty much the CLA. That's the contract I'm about to sign. And if I click on sign CLA, what it will do, we are using the DocuSign for this legal contract. Pretty much be using DocuSign for these different CLAs. And here, as you can see, it's forward me just to the DocuSign. And all what I'm doing here, pretty much, I'm just going through the very, very standard DocuSign process, where it's just click continue and go ahead and pretty much go ahead and sign. It's very simple. I just put my name, put my mailing address, my country, and my email address. And pretty much go ahead and sign it pretty much the same way as all other. I'm sure you went through all of this DocuSign signing a lot. So it's just a DocuSign. Once I signed it, I will be allowed to contribute. I don't want to sign it now yet because I want to show you some more flows. Maybe on the end of the presentation, we can go ahead and sign this. But pretty much after signing this DocuSign, I will be able to contribute. So I'm going to just jump out of here and okay. All right. And when I will be able to contribute, jump to exit EasyCLA. And once I will sign the EasyCLA, this not covered will change to covered. And of course, this EasyCLA check will pass and I will be able to contribute. So as you can see, we go back to the presentation. As you can see here, this CLA is simply blocking me to make a contribution and is forwarding me to sign CLA. If it's already signed, I can make a contribution. Okay, any questions about this flow? Okay, we go next slide. So this is the demo I just did. Okay, so now I briefly mentioned that what different roles do we have in these different corporate CLA and ICLA flows. First of all, we have a project manager. And project manager is someone who puts this CLA in place. CLA manager is someone who is managing this open source project. And what they will do, they will just go and add, and I have a demo for that as well a little later. CLA manager will just go ahead and add this CLA in place. We'll upload the PDF document. We'll specify which repository should be protected by EasyCLA. We'll put the name of that specific CLA group we call. So we'll simply configure this EasyCLA for the project. Then we have individual contributor. I already mentioned it several times. We have a corporate contributors. We have somebody who is a corporate CLA manager. I briefly mentioned this persona as well. That's someone who is managing these different corporate contributors. And then we have corporate signatory, and that is somebody who is authorized the sign CCLA, corporate CLA, on behalf of the organization. So now, what do we need to get started with EasyCLA? As I mentioned, EasyCLA, it's a Linux Foundation product, and is pretty much tailored exclusively for projects which are under Linux Foundation umbrella. So what do we need? In order to run EasyCLA, we need to have all of these repositories under Linux Foundation. That's the first. So if they are hosted somewhere else, we're not fully supporting it. Then we have a supported platforms. Currently, I already showed you a GitHub. There is very similar for the GitLab, slightly different for the Gerrit, but we support all three of them, GitHub, Gerrit, and GitLab. And then repository settings. So in order to enable EasyCLA on your GitHub repository, you need to be an owner of that GitHub org. And you need to go ahead to the GitHub org. As I mentioned, EasyCLA, I mentioned it here, EasyCLA is just a GitHub app. In order to install this GitHub app, you need to have you need to be an owner of that GitHub org. And also you need to go to settings and configure that as a branch protection. Just make sure when there is a PR merge, make sure this specific check runs. And I don't want to go into detailed configuration. We have everything in our EasyCLA documentation.